Hey on Isidores. Okay, let's talk about 10 count Sinawali. First of all, 10 count Sinawali is not something that you're going to have to deal with until after your black belt. You might be exposed to it earlier than that, but it's not something that you need for any kind of a test until after you reach your black belt. As far as 10 count itself, 10 count Sinawali rather, is that it's really not different as far as purpose and what it's training you to do than any of the other Sinawalis that we've done whenever you learned them back in foundation material. First couple classes actually were all about the Sinawalis. The same purpose that those had will now be applying to 10 count Sinawali.
Unlike other Sinawalis, we'll start with both sticks in front of us. Your first stick will be a right stick to the ground. Your second strike will be your left stick hitting your right stick as it's bouncing up off the ground. Allow the momentum of that strike to carry your right stick around and then into the 3 low strikes that follow. These 3 low strikes are very similar to Heaven Low or Earth, whatever you're familiar with, except they are not cut through strikes. They are all Wittig, or they're all bounce back. After that, your left stick should lead as you sweep high. These are not cut through strikes. They are strikes with the edge of the blade. First with the left and then with the right, and then you continue the pattern on the other side. Doing this with a partner, you'll have the same challenges that you do on any of the other Sinawalis. The size and the strength and the speed and the fluidity of your partner will help or hurt the drill. But as your experience with the drill goes, you'll be able to lean less on your partner and be able to make up for more and more of their weaknesses. Also, to add complexity, you can always move around. You can also speed up the drill or find different variations. Ultimately, just like any of the other Sinawalis, you're just training your hands to obey what your brain is telling them to do.
All right, guys, we're getting close. Let's talk about the empty hand translation. Now, I assume that you're black belt or you're brown, kind of gunning for black, and so you're way past just learning a drill just for the sake of learning a drill, right? This is now starting to become interesting to you as far as what can I do with this drill, not just the drill itself. Okay, this is a cool, pretty pattern. No, this is what can I do with this. Okay, so let's talk about those things right now. So, let me back up. And let me start with something that you've probably already heard me say a bunch of times, or you've heard this from the guru, is that this is an abstract drill with literal components, right? So it is an abstract drill. This is not meant to be taken literally. There are components of it that are literal, but the overall drill is abstract. And you understand what I mean by that. You're not going to go rushing into battle saying, I'm going to go do 10 count Sinawali and I'm going to come out on top, because that ain't going to happen. Right, so we're going to talk about this drill in where your mind goes with the bunkai, if you want to use that particular term, or whatever literal situation you can imagine up while you're doing this drill, is going to help and progress you with the drill. Because the drill itself doesn't take very long to learn. It doesn't take very long to get good at, especially at your particular level. This is definitely something that very quickly your mind will start to wander if it doesn't have anything to focus on. So this is the focus. This is where you're going to take this particular drill. You're going to turn this into a mental exercise. That way you can continue training even though you've mastered the drill and you're moving past it. Okay, so the first thing that it starts off with is a low strike. And when I low, I'm talking about on the ground, right? All the other Sinawalis up to this point have had high shots and low shots, or high and mid or high and low, but they're not that low. They're not like a foot strike. And that's what I kind of think of as this. Also, something I want to say is that this is what I think you I definitely encourage you to come up with your own thoughts on what these strikes could be and what they can mean and what different situations, and have your own imagination whenever you're using this. I'm just going to tell you what I think, and you can use it as a springboard to come up with your own bunkai or set of imaginings that you have for this particular drill. So the first strike is a foot, could be a foot strike. Also in the Filipino martial arts, or the Philippines in particular, they were very fond of the strike to the ground, and then whether they were in the sand or dirt or water, doesn't matter, they would flick whatever they were standing in up into their opponent's face and then continue to fight from there. So that's what this could be as well. This could be just a ground shot. Now, if you're fighting with me in your mind saying, well, it's not at the right angle, it's off to this, again, abstract drill, right? We got it off to the side so that it flows nice and easy into those 3 low strikes. But this could certainly be straight on. This could be another opponent. That's up to you and your imagination. So you've got your low strike. Then the second strike is your own stick striking your other stick. And you might be asking me, what, in what situation in real life would I be striking my own stick on purpose, right? Not on accident, right? I can't think of anything. But I can think of a situation where your opponent would try to block your stick from coming back up, or an obstacle or anything that's in your vicinity, right? The part of the environment that you're fighting in. I could certainly see that. And at this particular point of brown or black, you should all already understand when you need to really put some effort into a block and when you don't. And so this is definitely one of those times when you don't need to resist whatever's trying to stop your stick or sword or umbrella or whatever from coming up off the ground. You're just going to use that momentum in a very Balintawak type of philosophy. You're going to use that momentum that it's giving you from one strike to the other, and you're going to send it with even more power or more force into your bottom 3 strikes. Now again, for the drill, we're not putting power behind these, but you're still getting that practice of being able to feel that resistance, feel the contact, and using your wrist to roll that strike around, and then using that momentum to go into your next 3 strikes. It doesn't slow you down, it just rolls right into it, quite literally. Okay, the 3 low strikes should feel very familiar to you. They're heaven low, right? Obviously they're Wittig and they're not cut throughs, but this is heaven low or earth, whatever it is. But this is definitely sticking another pattern and wedging it into this drill. How many of you, this might be a long time ago, whenever you're learning single and double Sinawali for the first times, and you've got single down and now you're trying to learn double, and you find yourself in this really weird spot where sometimes you think you're doing double, but you're actually doing single. Or you think you're doing single, you're actually doing double. Here's a note. You don't have to be a beginner to catch yourself doing that. But the idea is that you've got these 2 patterns in your mind, but they're not differentiated yet. There's still enough similarities where you kind of, the edges of each one of these patterns in your mind are kind of blurred and they kind of flow in and out of each other. We want to get to the point where they're very distinct, right? And we want to make sure that what our brain is telling our body to do, our body responds and obeys. So by doing this particular drill and then continuing as part of the drill, I think it's its own benefit right there. Also, what this is doing is, if you notice, after you come off of the Balintawak strike, your right hand, let's just go from the right side. We started on the right side, right stick down, Balintawak with the left. Now we've gone into our 3 low strikes, starting with our right hand. Our right hand would be on top of our left. If we went straight into the passes, this would make things a little bit awkward as far as a drill goes, right? Again, we're thinking about the flow of a drill. But by doing these 3 low strikes, it swaps our hands. So now my left hand is on top of my right, and it's now free to do these high passing strikes. And I'll talk about why I call them a high passing strike here in just a little bit. But these are low strikes, right? These 3 strikes that are in the middle of the drill, these are definitely low strikes. They're going towards the knee or the leg. If we think about this in a sparring context, again, the single and double have a lot of high, low strikes, right? High and low, and then you've got reverse Sinawali that has all low strikes. But either way, as you're kind of progressing in your sparring, where you may start is where everybody else starts, with head hunting, trying to hit the head because it has a lot of cost benefit, right? A good strike to the head will disrupt the computer or the brain long enough for you to do other things, or long enough, ultimately, if you knock them out, right, game over. But what happens with headshots is that, 1, everybody's expecting them, and 2, they can kind of be easily seen, and 3, they can also be defended against if somebody knows that they're coming or knows how to defend against them. So leg shots kind of become a secondary or tertiary or even an ancillary tool for sparring sessions that go a little bit longer, right? So you've got your low shots, and if this was with a sword specifically, they are exceptionally deadly to get your legs cut or in any way, shape, or form. Or even with the stick, it stings and it hurts, and so it's something that you, especially if you're catching on a kneecap or something like that, it can really be damaging. So this reflects a little bit of a progression even in your own sparring, that you're going to go for these lower shots. Okay, so now let's talk about the 2 high passes, right? And I keep calling them high passes because in my mind, again, this is mine, and so you can make it yours. If I was going to spar or if I was going to fight and I was going to change my level and I was going to drop to do low strikes, what can I expect the enemy to try to do? My head is in perfect range for somebody to come right at it. I mean, right? It's just right there. It's too easy of a target. So by doing my 3 low strikes, I'm going to immediately assume that these other strikes are coming in at my head, and I'm going to do 2 passes. Does it have to be 2? Well, for the drill it does. But would it have to be 2 in real life? Obviously not. But this is a great way to start it off. And so as these strikes are coming in, I've gone low, I've struck here, I'm coming up, I'm going to pass and make sure that my head is protected. Now I'm going along with the drill. Could these be, instead of passing blocks, could these be strikes that I'm just 3 low strikes and then coming 3 high strikes, 3 backhand horizontal and then a forehand horizontal or something like that? Absolutely, that certainly could be that way. Could it be a mix and match? So could the first one be a pass and the second one be a power strike? Absolutely. Play with this in your own mind and come up with your own pattern and on what this means. And then obviously whenever you get to the other side, you're just doing the same thing in reverse. So play with the patterns, find what works, and find what challenges you in a mental way, especially whenever the patterns start to get boring and starts to get tedious, starts to get rote. Because at that particular part, your body already knows what to do as far as the pattern is concerned, but it will not make the connection to doing this in real life unless you push your brain to do it. Okay? All right. As always, have fun. This is another one of those drills that you just play around with, and we'll do it ad nauseum. And we'll push and pull, and we'll move around, and we'll speed it up, and we'll add different variations to it. But again, at this level that you're at, this becomes a mental game more than anything. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.